Well, hello everybody, welcome back to Shutters and Speed. Today we're in for another treat because we have our good friend Gary with us again, and we're going to have a look at this fabulous machine in front of us. So, because we're right on, just on the Norfolk-Lincolnshire border here, I think, Gary.
Yep.
And we'll run them their titles, boy. Yeah, so welcome back to Shutters and Speed. Now, a lot of you will probably remember, Gary, from the superb video we done earlier, it's probably a year ago now, I reckon.
I think it is, Steve. Yeah, I think it is.
About Gary's fabulous AP50. Now, if you want to have a look at that video, a link will appear up here somewhere for you to have a look at, but I would strongly suggest you stay here first and see this one before you go on to have a look at that. But I'm sure a lot of you have already seen that already, you know, regulars to the channel. So what we've got here is a real blast from the past for me, because I actually owned one of these back in the day, May 1979, I can remember it well. 690 quid on the road. I bought one of these brand spanking new, and it was delivered to my house, and that was a life changer for me. I was all over the place on one of these, and that has such fond memories for me. And this one is in almost the same colour scheme as what mine was, so that's fantastic. And you know, it's here in front of us, and we're hopefully going to go for a ride in a minute or two. But before we do that, we'll just have a word here with Gary and just ask him how he come to buy this machine. I know he's a bit of a two-stroke fanatic, and he has one or two, it has to be said. So what's the story behind this one then, Gary?
Well, this particular bike, Steve, was an eBay purchase several years ago. It was a bit of a bargain at the time, and of course prices move on with things, and it's now become a bit more valuable than what it was. But the reason for me buying it was its overall originality, Steve, and the model it is. It's what they call, it's worded as the Mark III, the last one of the X7. This is a 1982 model, so it's the end of the line for the X7. They had the plastic indicators, which are the black ones. They had the plastic clocks as opposed to the metal ones, which are very similar to the GSX style ones, and also the switchgear and that. So there's a few changes, and they called them the Mark III, although Suzuki never called them that. And X7s have been a part of my life, including the X5, the X1 and all that, so all the X-range little Suzukis, and I think they're a fantastic little bike of the day, and they get the vote off me 10 out of 10 all the while. Brilliant.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, we mentioned on camera that you know, the trend at the moment is, or off camera, sorry, the trend at the moment is for not everything to be nut and bolt perfect, and I think that you'd probably agree this one probably isn't. But it is in such a lovely, good, usable, standard condition, if you like.
That's right, Steve. Again, you've said that, but like I say, it's not far off nut and bolt perfect, but what it is original, unrestored. I have a restored one, as you know,
yes,
which is precious to me.
Yes.
But this whole thing is as it was, 1982. And it commands a lot of respect. It's still on its original seat, Steve, albeit with a bit of sticky tape on it, but it's still on its original seat.
Yeah.
Everything about it is as it should be, and which is great to look at.
Absolutely. You know? I think that's what brings back the memories for everybody, you know, I really do. I mean, I can remember mine, for example, that didn't split here, that split here. They all used to split along here, didn't they, at one time? And I sort of grafted pieces of plastic in all sorts to keep it right. Yeah. But yeah, it is just fabulous. It really is. And it's 40 odd years ago since I owned one of these, and so I'm going to sort of go back in my youth in a few minutes and see how she runs. But yeah, so thank you very much for letting us have a look at it, Gary. So as we're going to just take it out for a spin and see how she goes. But before we do indeed go out for a spin, as ever, let's have a close look at the original exquisite detail of this fabulous machine. So turn up your device and marvel at the sound of a two-stroke start-up.
Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We are back on a GT250X7, and what a joy that is. As I've mentioned many times before, and probably will do again, we are going down memory lane. I actually owned one of these back in the day, and this reminds me of all the great times I had aboard one of these. I reckon when I had it new in May 1979, and I probably done around 15,000 miles on it until I had a bit of a coming together, it has to be said, and that was the end of the X7, and I then progressed to an RD 250LC, which of course is another story. But this one of these, looking very similar to this, it's nearly the same colour scheme as what I was roaring around on at the time, and it's just fantastic. It really is. It's you know, like I say, so nostalgic. How does it ride, you're probably wondering? Well, it actually rides like a dream. It goes into bends beautifully. It's light, flickable. You know, it really is fantastic. We're just taking a few bends here. We're not going too crazy, but we're having a good laugh. Fantastic. Yeah, all that confidence that you used to have when you had one of these things. It just brings it all back. Sure. We just hit the power band there, and that is now flying, the thing is. That's fantastic. Yeah, so we're going along really nicely along the A17 here, and it brings back, you know, the memories are flooding back. It really are. I mean, I used to ride one of these, as I mentioned earlier, and you know, it would be out in all weathers, all conditions, any time of year, going to work, leisure, you know, and I really did use the thing. Chewed through chains and sprockets like there's no tomorrow, and wasn't the most economical thing either. But you know, it was great. It was great to be on, and you know, it was a taste of freedom. Probably more so than a 50, because you could cover greater distances. You know, and really get on and have some fun. So we're just going down a little back road here. Yeah, and people used to go on about the speed capability of these. I mean, they were reckoned to be one of the first 250s to be able to do 100 miles an hour, and most of them probably got very close to that, if not more. One or two of them were tuned up and, you know, messed about with, and in fact some of them were production raced back in the day. So we used to go to Snetterton on a Sunday and watch these things being ragged around Snetterton circuit, which was also great. I mean, knowing that you was on the very machine that they was racing round, which was another great joy. I can well remember a chap who used to race them and win championships quite regularly, a chap called Mike Walker, who was from our area. I don't know whether he's still around or not, but he was a bit of a legend amongst us 250 boys, and we thoroughly enjoyed watching him rag the old 250X7s up against the RDs of the world, you know, which was obviously great fun. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these were modified quite heavily. That, you know, there was tuning companies around that used to go on about the you know, go do various things to the porting and so forth, you know, which would increase performance. The expansion chambers would be fitted and all sorts of things. But to have one like this, you know, to have a go on, which is exactly how I had it, which was, you know, original, is fantastic. It really is. So thank you so much, Gary, for allowing me to have a ride on this fabulous machine. The other thing about this was, I can remember you know, a lot of people used to, the burning question I always got when I had mine back in the day was, how fast will it go, mate, or how fast will it go, mister? Well, that was all well and good, but the other thing about it was so torquey and tractable that it was great to just go out for a sort of a short blast, well, not blast as such, but you know, around these sort of areas like that road we've just been down. That would be fantastic to just cruise through and, you know, take in the views. Even then, you know, you could do that. I mean, yeah, everybody likes to go quick, but you know, it's also a privilege to be able to you know, cruise through and, you know, just take it in, and that's how I was. And I think sometimes people thought I was a bit of a numpty, but I didn't mind. I really enjoyed just cruising around, and with this you could do that. Yeah, so before we take this fabulous bike back to its very lucky owner, I can't resist just having one more trip down memory lane and send it through a series of bends just like these ones, which is great to do. Yep, so I would just like to say to Gary, thank you very much for allowing me to have a ride on this fabulous bike, and as I've said many times before, bringing back so many memories. Brilliant, thank you so much. Well, Gary, I have to say that was fantastic.
Good for you, Steve.
Yeah,
good for you.
I really did enjoy that. I mean, yet again, you've taken me back to my youth, and I've got to say I thoroughly enjoyed that. You know, first time I've been on one of these for 40 odd years, and it just brought back so many memories. So
They do.
That was fantastic. So
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome.
So I hope you people have enjoyed looking at this video as much as I've enjoyed making it, I've got to say, together with my good friend Gary here. We have thoroughly enjoyed showing you this fabulous machine. It really is a joy to behold, and I hope that you know, you like it enough to like and subscribe the video, which would be great, and it'd help me out. So without further ado, I think we will call a halt to proceedings here and now. So it's a huge thank you to my good friend Gary here, and you know, we'll see you next time. So it's goodbye from Gary.
Goodbye, everybody.
And it's goodbye from me. And as I said earlier, we'll see you in the next video.